Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the third edition of Steelman's webinar series, Engage. Engage 3.0 seeks to facilitate discussion on the changing landscape of the global and domestic steel industries. The World Steel Association has projected steel demand to rise marginally in 2022. However, the outlook remains highly uncertain as the global geopolitical situation poses significant long-term challenges for the steel industry. Among them are a possible readjustment in trade flows, shifts in energy trade, and their impact on energy transition, not to forget the continued reconfiguration of global supply chains. To start with, a big thank you to the Ministry of Steel and the Indian Steel Association for extending their generous support to Engage 3.0. I am Nirmallo Dev, Technology Editor, Steel Mint, and I will take you through the session entitled Reviewing Ferrochrome Production and Consumption Outlook in India. I'm pleased to welcome my colleague, Anvita Pandey, as the co-host for this session. Welcome, Anvita.
Thank you, sir.
It goes without saying that the Indian ferroalloys industry is not immune to global pressures. The domestic ferrochrome industry faces headwinds in terms of rising raw material, power, and production costs, decreasing viability, export tariff on stainless steel, and shrinking export opportunities. However, the tide seems to have turned of late. We are honored to have on board two distinguished experts who will share their valuable insights on the emerging contours of the ferrochrome industry in India. I'm pleased to welcome Mr. Vivek Nishant Nath, General Manager, Sales and Marketing at Odisha Mining Corporation. Over the past 30 years, he has worked closely in the metals and mining space with private and PSU organizations such as NMDC and ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel India. He has worked in multiple functions in the industry and has published more than 10 research papers on various platforms. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Nirmal.
The other expert on the panel today is Mr. Debraj Mukherjee, Assistant General Manager, National Sales, Tata Steel Mining Limited. Mr. Mukherjee completed his engineering from the Indian Institute of Engineering Science and Technology in 2001 and MBA from the Graduate School of Business, University of Cape Town, South Africa. He has over 21 years of experience, with over 12 years out of those spent in South Africa. He has worked in various fields such as production, greenfield projects, procurement, supply chain, and logistics. Welcome, Mr. Mukherjee.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
As an introductory word, online participants are free to ask questions to the panelists after the conclusion of respective presentations. So please drop your question on the chat box or the Q&A box, and we would pick up as many as time permits. Thank you. With these introductory words, I would now request Mr. Nath to start off with his presentation. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Nirmal. Thank you, Steel Mint, and welcome all the participants, all the viewers, audience, and my co-panelist, Mr. Devraj. The topic given to me is ferrochrome production and consumption outlook in India. I start with the world scenario. I hope my presentation is visible to all.
Please wait a moment, sir. I'm sharing. Hope you are able to see your presentation, sir.
Yeah, let's move on to the next slide, second slide, and it has to come in the display mode. That is.
Your slide is visible, sir?
Slide is visible. You go to the next slide and enlarge it a little bit. It has to be in the slideshow mode.
So this is the highest one, I guess.
Yeah, you need to move to the second slide.
This one?
Second slide. Slide is not moving.
Oh,
Yeah. So to the viewers and audience once again, let us go through the world scenario. You may be aware, many of you may be aware that the industry is about $17 billion as per the 2018 data, and it is slated to grow at the rate of 4.6% till 2030. And it is largely governed by the Chinese market, because they are the 60% consumer and producer, and major applications are in the steel industry. Major ferrochrome producers in the world are Glencore, Samancor, JSL in India, YNC Gazprom of Kazakhstan. Major ferrochrome producers in India are Tata Steel, Fakar, now it's Vedanta, Infa, JSL, Visa Steel, and Balasore has recently started. The demand drivers are mainly the steel industry, stainless steel industry, the alloy steel, and the construction and real estate. So, because the stainless steel industry is the major factor, major consumer of ferrochrome, and it is slated to grow at 3.2% CAGR till 2030, the growth in India will be much faster. India growth will be is expected at 6.27%, which we will deal on in the subsequent slide. The next one, Amrita. Yeah. So China, being the major stainless steel producer, is also the largest importer of ferrochrome. Exporter, the largest out of 3.43 million ton that has been exported and imported world over in H1 2022. Major is contributed by the South Africa, about 50%, followed by India, Kazakhstan, Zimbabwe, Finland, Netherlands, and Russia. The major importer of ferrochrome out of this 3.43 million ton is China, about 30%, followed by Indonesia, European Union, Japan, South Korea, USA, and Taiwan in varying percentage. China being 30%, Indonesia being 26%, and European Union being 16%, and so on. Next slide, Amrita. Again, apart from ferrochrome, China purchases a lot of ferrochrome also, chrome ore also from various countries, including South Africa, Turkey, Albania, Zimbabwe, Pakistan, Oman. Out of the 8.48 million ton of chrome ore traded world over, exported and imported, South Africa exported 78% of the chrome ore, and majority of it, everything has gone to China, more than 91% to China, followed by small percentage to Indonesia, Turkey, Netherlands, USA, India, and others. India is also importing little bit of uh, chrome ore. Next slide. Now coming to India, as many of you may be aware, Odisha commands the major share of both in terms of reserves as well as in terms of production. Reserves, Odisha commands 96% of the total reserves and almost 99% of the total production what is happening in India. Mostly, we have got Odisha has got 96% of the reserves, followed by Nagaland, Manipur, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Maharashtra. All little bit quantity, not much. And in Odisha also, the entire deposits and producing plants are located inside in Sukinda. Out of the major leaseholders of chrome ore are major is Tata Steel, about 2.84 million ton, followed by OMC 1.91 million ton, Infa 0.65. In total, currently we have in India 6.39 million ton of EC capacity, against which in the next slide will show the production level is varying from 3.94, 3.68 million ton. Amrita, the next slide, please. Yeah, the middle table will give you the production figures. against a 6.39 million ton of EC capacity. India is producing about 4 million ton of chrome ore. Major contribution 51% comes from Tata Steel, followed by OMC, which commands 30%, then INFA 19%, Packer and others. 12% INFA, Packer 6%, and others. OMC is currently producing at a level of 1.1 to 1.2 million ton level, and it is slated to remain at this level only, and we are getting into opening of new mines, so it is going to increase. The grades what is being produced in India is mostly friable ore, and all the 40 to 52% and plus 52% are all fines. Lump grade are not produced in India. We have Odisha Mining Corporation has started. It's a Bangur iron ore mine, which is producing lumpy ore, but it is all minus 40%. So we will have some visibility of lump ore in India going forward. But as of now, it's only friable fines which is being produced in India. Normally, it gets the fines gets utilized by after like briquetting techniques are done. Few of the producers are also using fines as it is by charging the furnace, but there are very few others all they get into the briquetting techniques. Next slide will show you the application and end products and production of ferrochrome in India. The next slide is, yeah. So you can see that majority of the application of chrome ore is goes into 70 stainless steel production. That is about 77%, followed by engineering and alloy steel and others. Major products are stainless steel, special alloy steel, ball bearing steel, and tool steels. In India, against the 4 million ton that is getting produced chrome ore, we have got about installed capacity of 2 million ton about in India, against which the normal production has peaked to 1.91 million ton FY19, but due to COVID and other market factors, it has gone down. Currently, India is producing about 1.5 million ton of ferrochrome annually, out of which about 50% is getting exported. Balance 50% only is getting consumed in India. The market was little bit unsupportive. Now it is slightly, the market has moved. It is at currently at 1 lakh above 1 lakh territory. It has moved down to below 1 lakh rupee per ton territory, but it has again come back to that level. So that is what helps the ferrochrome producers going by the very high level of production cost, owing to about one is that 2.5 tons of chrome ore is required to produce 1 ton of ferrochrome, and the electricity consumption, which is the major cost driver, it consumes about 3450 to 4500 kilowatt hour per ton of ferrochrome. Sorry. India produced about about 4 million ton of stainless steel in FY21, and this is going to increase further. The next slide shows, Amrita, go to the next slide, please. The next slide shows the Indian market, basically how much we are exporting and how much we are importing. The left top table will show you that India is also importing about 41,000, 40 to 40,000 about metric ton of ferrochrome from various countries like Russia, Turkey, Albania, Brazil, Kazakhstan, Sweden, others. Whereas India is producing out of that 1.5 million ton that is getting produced, 0.753 was the export last year, and majority has gone to China, 40%, followed by South Korea, 20%, Indonesia, 14%, and others. The capacity utilization is about 75%, which has peaked to 95% in FY19, but it is currently it is 75% level because of the various factors. The ferrochrome producers are not getting enough support in terms of the cost of electricity and ore cost is, of course, is what it is. India is, in any case, a net exporter of ferrochrome. It's a value-added product, importing about 40 KT and exporting about 750 KT of ferrochrome in the world market. The next slide shows the final the outlook of ferrochrome industry in India. Basically, it is driven by, as I told you earlier, 77% of the consumption is done for stainless steel making. So we have the stainless steel growth pattern, which is at currently about 4 million ton, going to produce about 6.86 million ton by 2030, and about 19 million ton in CY 2047. The CAGR is double the world average. World average is 3.2%. In India, we are going to grow at a 6.27% CAGR. Now, correspondingly, against the stainless steel, the stainless steel will require by 2030 about 1.37 million ton of ferrochrome, leading to 3.43 million ton of chrome ore. The current, as I told you, the internal India's consumption is about 0.75 million ton, which is going to grow to 1.37 million ton out of the only stainless steel, and it is going to grow to further 3.85 million ton for stainless steel consumption and 9.64 million ton for the chromite ore. If we consider the total requirement of ferrochrome and chromite ore, by 2030, we are going to have ferrochrome consumption of 1.78 million ton, and by 2047, about 5 million ton of ferrochrome. Going to the next slide. As we discussed in the previous one, that India is having a EC capacity of 6.39 million ton, and the current installed capacity of ferrochrome is about 2 million ton. So by 2032, we are going to have consumption level in excess of 2 million ton. So which implies that we need to add the capacities for ferrochrome production. Similarly, against the 6.39 million ton of ferrochrome production, ferrochrome EC capacity, against which about 4 million ton is getting produced, this 6.39 million ton will exhaust by 2036. So before that, we need to have additional EC capacity, additional mines, in order to take care of both the internal requirement as well as our export commitment. So in this connection, an expert committee has been constituted by Ministry of Steel and Mines, and detailed exploration of all chromite mines are being taking place. With the current level of size of each chromite mine, we need to open about 12 to 13 new mines in the next decade, next 10 years going forward, in order to cater to the requirement of India's growing demand coming out of mainly stainless steel. So that's all from my end. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Nath, for that very informative presentation. Before we go to the next expert, just a word for the members, online participants. We are getting questions, receiving questions from you on the box, but please also do mention your name and your company's name, so that we can take the question forward and ask our experts. I would now request Mr. Mukherjee to commence his presentation. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, good morning to all. Good morning to Mr. Nirmala Dev and Amrita from Steel Mint, and Mr. Vivek Nath of OMC, my co-speaker. So a very good morning to all of you. So let me start my presentation. Amrita, can you show the slides, please?
Sure, sir.
Yeah, it's visible now. So the topic of discussion today is reviewing the ferrochrome production and consumption outlook in India. Myself, Devraj Mukherjee, who is going to present on this topic. I am working as Assistant General Manager, National Sales in Tata Steel Mining Limited. Go to the next slide, please. Yeah, you may kindly go through the disclaimer. These are my own views and thoughts, and my company is not responsible for any of the thoughts expressed in this forum. Next slide, please. Yeah, so Mr. Nath explained it very nicely. So I will not detail on this slide. So in nutshell, the global ferrochrome production is 14 million ton, whereas the consumption is also in the same range. The major ferrochrome producing nations are obviously China, South Africa, Kazakh, India, Europe. And the major consuming nations are stainless steel producing nations who consume ferrochrome. And the top is China, of course. Then coming to the second largest is Europe, then India, Japan, South Korea, Indonesia. So here, if you see India produces approximately 1.3, 1.4 million tons of ferrochrome. So out of that, 0.53 million is consumed in-house. These all are CY21 data, and rest 0.7 million ton is exported. So now Indian export of ferrochrome is mainly happens to China, South Korea, and to some extent Japan. So whatever ferrochrome production of India does, it is mainly consumed in China and South Korea. Almost 10 to 15% goes to Japan, which is a premium geography. And the geographies such as Europe and USA, they got preference for South African grade charge chrome and Kazakh grade ferrochrome, Kazakh or Russian grade ferrochrome. So they do not like or do not consume much of Indian grade ferrochrome. So when we talk about the demand driving factors which can promote the growth of ferrochrome business of India, it is mainly China, South Korea, and of course India. So you can go to the next slide. So here I just tried to project the demand drivers, the outlook of demand drivers of chrome business. So chrome business is, the demand is mainly driven by the demand of stainless steel. And so far demand of stainless steel is concerned, in general, the GDP of various countries, the construction growth output, the industrial production growth, the vehicle production growth, these are the main three demand drivers. So if you look at the global GDP after the slowdown in 2020 because of the COVID outbreak, in 2021, it recovered to a good extent. 2022, it was again bit down. We all know that it is because of the growing energy crisis in Europe, Ukraine-Russia war, and obviously the financial stimulus that Chinese government earlier used to give, that has cut down to a good extent. So because of those reasons, the world GDP came down in 2020 and expected to remain almost in the same levels in 23. Growth is expected from 24 onwards. So here, after world GDP, if you look at the GDP of main geographies, key geographies, China looks positive, although in 2022 it is a bit less, but it is going to pick up from 23 onwards. So going forward, I would like to say that China and India, these two are the countries which will mainly drive the demand of chrome business, so to say ferrochrome. Now, specifically looking at the construction output, in 2021 there was a good growth, but in 2022 there is a bit of sluggishness in the market. And 23 onwards, if you see, China and India, the orange bar and the blue bar, these two countries are going to drive the demand. So far industrial production is concerned, after the debacle of world economy in 2020, 2021 was quite good. And going forward, you can see that India and China looks quite promising. Now coming to vehicle production. So far vehicle production is concerned, obviously there is a negative growth in Europe and Japan because of the energy crisis in Europe and because of the unavailability of semiconductor chips, which is used for vehicle production, that also was responsible for bit slower growth of vehicle industry in Japan. 2023 onwards, you see the outlook of Europe and Japan looks positive. These two are the main, and USA also is much better. So these three are the main three vehicle producing nations. After this, you can go to the next slide. Yeah. So here actually I just tried to project few topics which are actually very important, and it has to be monitored very, very closely, because this can change the outlook in the positive or in the negative way. So first is the COVID outbreak. Because of the initiatives, vaccination initiatives taken globally, it is much stable now, other than China. Because of China zero COVID policy, the industrial production growth and other stuff in China is a bit hampered. But other than that, the rest of the world is coping with the problem quite well at this point of time. But any outbreak of new variant may affect the industry negatively. Now, coming to China's dual control energy restriction policy and decarbonization. So if you see the world growth of greenhouse gas emissions, the main contributing countries are China, India, mainly the developing nations. So there is a huge pressure on China specifically to control its pollution from the rest of the world. And China is also getting gradually aware of their increased greenhouse gas emissions. So because of that, they started the dual control energy restriction policy. So dual control policy, they are through this policy, they are trying to restrict the usage of fossil fuel based energy, thermal power and all, and which will help them to move towards decarbonization. So the government is focused to take steps to control energy intensive industries like power rationing, off-peak production, etc. So this is actually in a way is good for countries like India, because if the Chinese ferrochrome production is under control and it is not increasing heavily, then it will open up opportunities for countries like India and Russia and of course South Africa, who are also a major player in the ferrochrome business. Now, coming to the backward integration by China in various countries such as Indonesia, Africa, and other geographies. So to Chinese stainless steel industry is doing backward integration, and they are trying to set up chrome ore mines and ferrochrome production facilities in South Africa and Zimbabwe, and also in Indonesia. So this is a thing which is actually making Chinese ferrochrome industry, or so to say the stainless steel industry, more self-sufficient. And if that happens so, then it is not, so to say, it is not very good for other ferrochrome producing nations like India, Russia, and South Africa, because the demand of ferrochrome, or let's say the demand of import of ferrochrome to China will come down significantly. Coming to the rising demand in India, thanks to the government, the growing demand in India and the government policies to establish India as a manufacturing hub is expected to support domestic demand of alloys in future. Now coming to the uncertainty in South Africa, the main country on the supply side. So this, because of this rising power cost and power disruptions of Eskom, the power generating body in South Africa, and geopolitical tensions, to some extent COVID as well, it might hamper ferrochrome production significantly. Currently, till now, it is not that much hampered, but if these problems escalate, then ferrochrome production of South Africa may get hampered. So South Africa being the major country in the supply side, if the ferrochrome production in South Africa is hampered, then the chrome available in the global trade, in the free market, will reduce. And obviously, it will create more opportunity for countries like India, Russia, Kazakhstan, who are also playing in the global market. Now, another very important topic is possibility of ban on export of South African chrome ore. It is a long debated, since long it is being discussed. It did not happen till now, but imposition of ban on South African chrome ore will change the global business completely, because the 6 to 7 million tons of ferrochrome, not 7 million, roughly 6 million tons of ferrochrome that China produces is entirely from almost 80% of that is produced by using South African chrome ore. So any ban on that will change the market completely. There will be huge reduction in Chinese ferrochrome production, and that will escalate the prices like anything, and global demand of ferrochrome is going to skyrocket. Now, coming to the imposition of export duty. In case of imposition of export duty, it will not be as severe as imposing ban on chrome ore, but if the export duty is imposed on South African chrome ore, then the global ferrochrome prices are going to rise up significantly, because chrome ore prices are going to rise up, Chinese cost of production is going to increase, and if that happens, so global prices are definitely going to go up, because China is the major consumer of ferrochrome. Out of 14 million ton ferrochrome produced globally, 8 million ton is consumed in China, 6 million by own production and 2 million imported. So obviously, it will be a very good opportunity for other nations, ferrochrome producing nations, to exploit and to take the full advantage of. You can go to the next slide. Now, after discussing the factors which can affect the global chrome business demand and its future, let us look at the ferrochrome production and consumption outlook in India. The experts project that going forward from 2022 onwards, the ferrochrome consumption is going to increase at the rate of 3%. Here, actually, I am trying to be conservative. It might be more also. And ferrochrome production is going to increase at the rate of 7%. So basically, here, the growth rates are projected, and it is supported by a couple of facts, which I'm going to articulate now. India's stainless steel capacity is 6.6 to 6.8 million ton as on March 2022. The capacity utilization is 50 to 60%. India is one of the largest consumer of stainless steel and one of the fastest growing markets. The country's per capita stainless steel consumption has been more than double. In 2010, it was 1.2 kg per capita. Now it is 2.5 kg. The per capita consumption of stainless steel will reach 8 to 9 kg by 2040 and 11 to 12 kg by 2047, which shows huge growth. Thus, the consumption is expected to reach 12 to 13 million ton in 2040 and expected to reach 19 to 20 million ton in 2047. So, which shows the huge requirement of ferrochrome in this country, which probably will surpass the projection that I made there, which is basically taken from CRU, the projection given in CRU. But I believe that it is going to exceed the projections shown over here. Now, coming to the major ferrochrome producing companies in India, first is Tata Steel Mining Limited, almost 0.4 million ton. Jindal 0.26 million ton, but Jindal's entire production is consumed in-house for making stainless steel. It is not sold in the market. Imfa 0.24 million ton, Vedanta 90,000, followed by Visa 84, Rohit 54, TBAPL 45, like so. So altogether summing up to 14.4 million ton roughly. So I have tried to show min-max range also, because depending on the availability of ore, they sometime increase production, sometime reduce production, depending on the market situation as well. So you can go to the next slide. Yeah. So here, in the global chrome value chain, the expansion projects that are being talked about, it is very much discussed everywhere. So in nutshell, 1.6 million ton ferrochrome production capacity globally is in the pipeline. So in India, quite a few. Faker, 75,000 ton per year. The project is expected to commence in 2022. Tata Steel Mining Limited started its production in the acquisition after acquisition of Rohit Ferrotech. The production started in June, July. We are producing at the rate of 4,000 to 5,000 ton per month, and in 2023 we expect to produce almost 100,000 ton after the acquisition, more compared to whatever we are producing now. IMFA is starting a project of 100,000 ton per year in 2022. Jindal's expansion is going to start, expected to start 2024, another 100,000 ton. Coming to global scenario, Zamasco, the ferrochrome producing nation in Zimbabwe, they are going to start to 72,000 ton per year ferrochrome facility in 2024. And the very big project, Afroshine, is going to start in 2023, which is almost 500,000 ton, almost 500,000 ton. And Xinjiang got a major. See, Xinjiang, we all know, Xinjiang is the main stainless steel producing company in China. Out of the three big stainless steel producers, Tisco, Baosteel, and Xinjiang. These three are the main three stainless steel producers, who produces 70% of China's stainless steel production. Xinjiang is the main. Xinjiang is the biggest, and they set up, as a part of their backward integration strategy, they set up stainless steel production facility and ferrochrome production facility in Indonesia. And their ferrochrome production facility is purely dependent on import of South African chrome ore. And once their ferrochrome production facility is fully established, probably they will not be needing any ferrochrome. Currently, Xinjiang, Indonesia is importing ferrochrome from India, South Africa, and various countries. So that will not be there. They will be self-sufficient. Only thing is that they will be importing chrome ore from South Africa and Zimbabwe. And in those countries, they are trying to set up mines and chrome ore reserves. They are going to find out chrome ore reserves as well. They are trying. So Xinjiang's ferrochrome production facility is not fully, not at its full capacity. It is producing roughly 200,000 ton currently. Another 700,000 ton is the plant is almost constructed, but completion of the project and starting hot commissioning, cold commissioning, those kind of stuff are expected to start by the end of 2022. So a huge growth in line with the growth in demand. The production is also going to increase by 1.6 million ton expected by, let's say, 2025, 2026. So next slide. Yeah. So I just tried to present the factors that is affecting the demand side and the production facilities which are going to come up in India and in the globe, and in nutshell about the supply side and demand side constraints of chrome business. So thank you. Any question? Most welcome.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Mukherjee, for your insightful presentation, holistic presentation, and more importantly, outlook-based presentation. Thank you, sir. We would like to start off with the question-answer sessions now. I would request Anvita to take the first, put the first question for the experts.
Okay. So, sir, my first question is for Vivek, sir. What are the governing factors that influence chrome ore prices apart from ferrochrome prices? For example, does South African UG tube chrome ore prices have any direct impact on Indian chrome ore prices?
No, as far as OMC is concerned, and other, I believe other players also, we are not governed by what is happening outside the world. We are concerned about the local industry, domestic industry, and what is the cost they are incurring in terms of electricity charges and coke charges, coke prices, that we monitor, and that these are the two factors apart from, of course, ferrochrome price. These are the two factors, basically, which govern decision on the floor price for chrome ore.
Okay,
Okay.
sir. Actually, just to put forward another question to Mr. Nath, sir, we are currently seeing muted demand in the monthly OMC chrome ore auctions. I mean, for the past few months, we have seen. Of course, the last auction in September, we saw some of the material getting booked at a premium. So I just wanted to understand the reason for this. Is it because that out of the state buyers is switching to other alloys in the hope of better margins?
No, as explained by Mr. Devraj, off and on there are slightly reduction or readjustment done by the ferrochrome producers depending upon the market scenario, particularly sorry, particularly the Chinese market and the Chinese demand, which basically governs the FOB price of ferrochrome, 50% of which get exported outside India. So depending upon that FOB price and the future outlook, the ferrochrome producers either switch on their furnaces or switch off their furnaces. So, but of course, I agree that last 2-3 months prior to the earlier one, there were muted demands, but the demand has come up, fortunately, and we are seeing, as far as OMC is concerned, we are seeing a very robust demand of chrome ore currently.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. And my another question is for Devraj, sir. Ferrochrome prices have again picked up after bottoming out at around rupees 92,000 per ton in Q2 FY23. So, can you give some guidance on ferrochrome price level in remainder of Q4 and Q1 CY 2023?
Yeah, thanks. A very good question, but a very difficult one as well, because ferrochrome prices are very unpredictable. So I would like to say that in China, after the downturn, there is an uptick in the price. It's mainly because in China, there is, after re-election, there is a lot of hope that the new government will do a lot of investment in infrastructure project, and obviously the prices bottomed out. So after then, it cannot go down further. The UG2 prices came down to $192. So it cannot go down further, because if it goes down $20-30 further, then probably it will go below cost of production. So now the only thing is that the prices can go up, not go down. And further, this outlook in China that the new government will spend good in infrastructure activities and all, China's prices going up. So if you see the last one's tender price versus this one's tender price, the prices increased by almost 800 to 1000 RMB. The tender price increased by 800 RMB, but spot prices were more than 1000 RMB. 1000 RMB meaning almost 10 to 12,000 rupees a ton. So which is almost 10 to 12% increase in Chinese prices happen. And as we all know that in the entire globe, out of the total 14 million tons of ferrochrome consumption, 8 million ton is contributed by China. So this entire thing is pulling up the demand, and which is also pulling up the demand in the domestic market. And in domestic market, there are various cost push factors also. So cost of production in domestic market also increased. So now it is not only the demand pool of China, it is also the cost push in domestic market. Because of ore prices and all, the cost of production also increased. So in domestic market, we cannot sell below a certain price. Otherwise, we will be EBITDA negative, or our margins will not be there. So, I mean, not ours actually. I'm talking in general on behalf of the ferrochrome industry. So all these two factors, cost push of India and demand pull of China, these are basically increasing the ferrochrome prices. And next 3 months outlook, I do not see a kind of skyrocket increase which happens sometime in ferrochrome business, but I do not see much of downturn. It is going to increase further. That is what is my strong belief is. And in CY23, I expect that the energy crisis and all those things in Europe will find a solution to it. They will find a solution to it, and after that, the situation in Europe is also going to improve. So I got a positive outlook for the future.
Yeah, the discussion is geared towards China. Of course, we have a few questions on China for Mr. Mukherjee, but before Mr. Mukherjee, I would like to have just a pick one question from one of the few questions sent by the audience, and this is for Mr. Nath. So, does OMC have any plans, sir? The question is for Mr. Nath. So, does OMC have any plans to link Indian chrome prices with international chrome ore price in the future? The question comes from Mr. Mihir Anand of Sojit's India. Yes, sir.
OMC being a state PSU, and we are totally concerned and dedicated to to catering to the requirement of domestic ferrochrome industry. So we don't see, as I explained earlier, we are not linking anything with the international ferrochrome prices or other prices. Rather, we are looking at what is coming to India and what Indian costs are there to my domestic steel industry, domestic ferrochrome industry in terms of in terms of coke prices, nut coke prices, as well as power cost. So we are not going to link anything to the international prices as of now.
Right, sir. Right, sir. And Mr. Mukherjee, as we were discussing about China, as we were seeing the demand pull from China and all that. So the question I want to ask you is whether China's ferroalloys producers organization has issued a notice recently about a production cut to the tune of some 50%. So is this going to affect the ferrochrome market? Of course, it's going to affect. And specifically, how will it affect the Indian market? What is your perspective on this?
See, first of all, I heard about that, and 50% production cut in ferrochrome, it is very, very difficult. So let's see whether it happens or not. But if it happens so, then of course, it will open up a lot of opportunity for countries like India, Kazakh, and South Africa. Because if there is a production cut in China, and stainless steel demand is going to remain like this in the future, it is not going to increase very much, but more or less stable demand is supposed to be there. So obviously, if in that case Chinese import of ferrochrome will increase heavily, and obviously global prices and demand is going to go up.
Yes, Anita, you had a question for Mr. Nath.
Yes, sir. Another question is for Vivek, sir. Sir, how do you see the chrome ore prices moving in near future?
As explained by Mr. Devraj, there is upside only. There is no downside. And as I told earlier, we are witnessing a robust demand of chrome ore. So while we will be formula driven, OMC will be formula driven in deciding the floor price for our e-auction, but the market I feel is quite upside. So there may be slight increase only. There is no chance of decrease going further.
Okay, sir. And another question is for Devra, sir. Sir, India produces around 1.2 to 1.3 million tons of ferrochrome, half of which is usually exported. So considering the energy crisis and recession fears, do you feel this ratio of like 50-50 can soon tilt higher in favor of domestic demand?
If I have understood the question correctly, let me try to answer. And first is that Indian ferrochrome is mostly going to countries like China, South Korea, and to some extent Japan, so to say. Almost 80% of India's ferrochrome production is going to China Indonesia is, I consider it part of China only because Chinese company Xinjiang set up a plant over there. And so China, Indonesia, and South Korea together is 80%. Almost only 15% ferrochrome is going to Japan, and India doesn't have much global exposure. Also, so to say, the exposure to Europe and to USA. India doesn't have much exposure. So the energy crisis, which is affecting the European nation, and the supply shortage of ferrochrome, which is affecting US, is not going to impact the Indian ferrochrome business to a good extent. But nowadays, everyone looks at each other. So obviously, if there is a huge drop in prices in Europe, that might have some impact on Chinese prices, but I don't think that is going to impact because majority of our product is not going to Europe and US. And energy crises and those kind of recessions are mostly coming in those countries, in Europe and US and those countries. So I think we are, to a good extent, insulated or protected from that.
Yeah, so I have a question now before Anvita ask her next question. So this is for both the panelists, of course. Now that we have been discussing about the stainless steel demand growth, domestic stainless steel demand growth, and how is the ferrochrome industry responding to that? I mean, like domestic growth, of course, is envisaged from the current 2.5 kg. We are going to 8 9 kgs, and maybe in the medium term as well, maybe till 2030 also, we are going higher. We're going by 5 6 kgs. We're looking at 5 6 kgs by that time, and 2 to 2.5 million tons is coming, I think, between 2025 to 2027 in the domestic stainless steel industry. So how and despite the capacity expansion that Tata Steel Mining Limited or the Indian IMFA, despite others, and do you think there is a lag between domestic demand and ferrochrome supply? And how will this lag be, how is this gap going to be, plugged? Will it be plugged through imports if domestic capacity doesn't rise?
Mr. Vivek, would you like to respond first, or?
No, you go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Okay. You see, my view is that in India, the import of ferrochrome is happening, and that opportunity is always there. And in India, there are some capacity of ferrochrome which is unutilized, as Mr. Vivek Nath sir was saying that when there is a demand in the market, they utilize the capacity. When there is less demand in the market, they switch off furnaces or they switch from ferrochrome to ferromanganese or some other alloys. So that thing is always there. That swing thing can always happen. So part of the demand can be met by increasing, by utilization, by more utilization of the existing capacity, and the pipeline projects are coming, and the door of import is always open. Like in China, people say that 50% additional capacity is there in China. South Africa got additional capacity. So if the market is buoyant, if ferrochrome prices improve, then in spite of having high energy cost and those kind of stuff in South Africa, they might try to increase production. They might try to increase production. And so far China is concerned, we all say China is an amazing country, so it can do anything and everything. So in China also, what if that chrome ore is imported to China? China is producing ferrochrome. In the wild guess, it can also come to India. So door of import is always open.
Yeah, Vivek sir, your
Yeah.
take on this?
As far as the mining sector is concerned, we are alive to the situation. We are opening or exploring new mines. As I told, we are opening a new mines called Bangur, which was shut down, and it is going to give to the market lumpy and chips, lump and chips. Number one. Number two, we are going to convert our existing open cast mine to underground, and already working on few other leases that are available with us. So the capacity for chrome ore is going to grow up. Similarly, what I understand from the industry, there are many new furnaces that is going to come up, and it is in the expansion mode. So, like Mr. Devraj told, that there is against 2 million ton of installed capacity. Currently, we are producing about 1.5 out of which 50% gets exported. So there is inbuilt capacity utilization that can be done. So I don't think that India is going to import in a very big way. Some little import, like it is already happening about 40,000 level, that can always take place. So not much of chances of import growing in a significant manner.
Yes. Yeah, Anvita?
Yes, sir. Captive miners can sell chrome ore in the market. Recently, Balasore and Vedanta have been selling chrome ore in the market, which is leading to an increase in supply. TSML has also been selling chrome ore. OMC, being the cheapest producer, is still losing some market share to other miners. So, my question to Vivek sir is, how do you plan to tide over this competition?
As far as OMC is concerned, we have got a niche market, and we have got our set customers. And it's not only prices, the metallurgy, the ore characteristic has to match to the requirement of the kind of ferrochrome, be it a low silicon ferrochrome or low carbon ferrochrome. Some of my customers are producing low silicon and low carbon ferrochrome. So it is the metallurgy also which is important apart from pricing. So as far as we are concerned, OMC is concerned, what I understand, what is the feedback that we have received from the market, our ore is suited to many of our customers. So I don't see any drop in demand. There are other players, definitely they are welcome, but OMC will be major player in the market going forward.
Yeah, so there's a question from one of the members of the audience that I would like to, take up. Um, the question is that between this open and closed systems of, furnaces, open and closed furnaces. So why closed smelting furnaces are not being used in India, um, with the perspective of, controlling health hazards and the environmental impact of open furnaces, and also, different environmental benefits that closed furnaces have. So, what are the impediments, which is why closed type furnaces are not being used in India? Mr. Mukherjee, would you like to take the question?
Yeah, it's basically a technical question, but I would try to answer. Uh, in India, historically, the furnaces that was set up was semi-open or open furnaces only. Other than Tata Steel's Bamnipal plant, which was set up roughly 20 years back, and it was a closed furnace set up by Outokumpu. Yes, most of the furnaces in last 20 years that was set up in India was mostly semi-open and open furnace. But the recent expansions, whatever is happening, I believe these are closed furnaces, and currently semi-open furnace or open furnaces are not coming. That is what my understanding is. So far greenhouse gas emissions are concerned, your semi-open furnace and open furnace and closed furnace do not have much difference. It depends on the amount of energy you consume, and it depends on the amount of coke you burn. So GHG gas emission, global warming, those kind of things are concerned. Semi-open, open furnace doesn't have much difference. But in case of closed furnace, the energy consumption is little lower, maybe 5%. So greenhouse gas emission will be 5% less. But obviously, the dust hazards and those kind of stuff, in case of semi-open, open furnace is bit more. But that is affecting the area around the furnaces only. It is not. If you got a good gas cleaning plant, you can clean the gas properly and emit clean air, not clean air, like less than the emission norms. Within the emission norms, you can emit the gases in the atmosphere. So in that way, I don't foresee much difference so far pollution, greenhouse gas emission concern between semi-open, open and closed furnace. There are differences to the extent of 5 to 10%. But there obviously there are historical reasons for it. And I believe that going forward, the furnaces that will come, new construction, will be closed furnace mostly. Closed furnace, or even if it is semi-open or open, it will have proper gas cleaning facility and proper mitigation measures taken.
Proper GHG mitigation measures.
Correct.
And also, as you said, that there is some expansion is happening in India as far as closed furnaces are concerned.
Correct. I believe so. I believe so. Exactly. I do not know very deep into the projects of INFA and other companies, but I believe it is. I mean, it is with proper pollution care and this kind of stuff.
Yes.
Those things obviously will be there, I think. I guess.
Yes, sir. So now to just turn the spotlight a little bit to stainless steel and what is happening in the stainless steel space. So we have a question by one of the online participants, which I would like to put forward. So domestic stainless steel scrap prices have corrected more than 30% since their peak in 2022. So the participant is asking, what is the cheaper alternative for chromium in stainless steel? Actually, my knowledge tells me that the compared to nickel, chromium is the cheaper alternative. But I mean, what is the cheaper alternative? Do you think that this will impact the demand for ferroalloys in the coming year? I mean, this stainless steel scrap prices really going through the roof and really increasing. So how is it going to impact the industry? And what is a cheaper alternative also? In fact, that is also a secondary question.
See, first of all, in ferrochrome, the chrome comes through two sources. One is the primary source, one is the secondary source. Obviously, primary source is ferrochrome and secondary source is scrap. Now, in stainless steel, there are three grades, 200 series, 300 series, and 400 series. So in 300 series, the nickel requirement is quite high, almost 8 to 9%. In case of 200 series, the nickel requirement is 3 to 4% like that, roughly. So where nickel is required, these people, I mean, go for scrap, because stainless steel scrap contains nickel. Stainless steel contains nickel, so stainless steel scrap will also contain nickel. So if you are producing 300, 200 series, then using scrap makes sense. But if you are doing 400 series, then using scrap doesn't make much of sense, because 400 series requires very less quantity of nickel. So there's no point in using scrap. Obviously, if there is a ratio change by the furnace operator, when there is an increase in the scrap prices, they try to reduce scrap consumption. They try to increase ferrochrome consumption. When there is a reduction in scrap prices, they try to increase scrap consumption and reduce ferrochrome consumption. So those kind of things are there. So there are multiple parameters which is actually affecting the consumption of scrap. One is price and the type of steel you produce. For example, India, developing nation like India, they produce almost 30, and China as well, they produce 30-40% 200 series. The 300 series production is comparatively low compared to developed nations. Like for example, Europe, USA, Japan, the 300 series stainless steel production, 400 series is quite more, 200 series is less. So, and in those countries, the availability of scrap is also more, because the developed nations are producing more and more quantity of scrap, because their stainless steel production and use of stainless steel started long back compared to developing nations like India, China. So our scrap generation is comparatively lower compared to developed nations. So all these factors will play an important role, and finally, it's a matter of cost economics. Ultimately, we have to see that which raw material is available at cheaper price, and we need to try to maximize. If I am a stainless steel producer, I would like to maximize the use of raw material which is cheaper. And the uptick in scrap prices happened mainly because of the increase in nickel prices. Nickel prices skyrocketed a couple of months back, but now the situation is quite normal. But I have seen if somebody is producing 300 series, there is a general tendency of increasing scrap when the prices are lower.
Nirmal, to add to what Mr. Devraj said, this aspect of scrap utilization is limited to the captive stainless steel producers in India. It doesn't impact the standalone ferrochrome producers in India. So what I understand is that those who are captive stainless steel producers, they first get into the scrap, what is the scrap prices available. Then they charge the ferrochrome. They produce the ferrochrome and charge the ferrochrome. So this impact of scrap is limited to the captive stainless steel producers only. It doesn't impact other industry in general.
Doesn't impact the standalone producers. Yes, sir. Yes, that's perfectly good insight. Anvita, please carry on.
Well, that was the last question we could accommodate for this session. Due to time constraint, we have to bring this webinar to a close, sir.
Okay, so that was the last question we could possibly take. Although I had a few questions in mind about Sukinda and, of course, Tata Steel's mines and capacity expansion and all that, but we are running woefully short of time. So I'm very sorry about that. Maybe for those interested among participants, we'll send these questions to the experts, and maybe they can answer, and we can share the answers with the participants at a later date. So that was a really exciting session, of thought-provoking session. One wonderful discussion on the chrome industry, ferrochrome industry. We are thankful to the experts for sharing their invaluable insights, and a big thanks to the participants as well for making this session a real success. Many thanks once again to the Ministry of Steel and the Indian Steel Association for their loyal support. Thanks to both the experts once again. Thanks, Anvita. Don't forget to sign in for the next session on the series, Europe steel production cuts. What does it mean for the world? This session starts sharp at 3:30 p.m. today. So till then, thanks again. Goodbye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.